Today on the program, Ford unveils its big plan for the future, and it won't be electric. DS announces the prices of the model that will have to save the brand, BMW presents its first Alpina, and is the all-new electric Polo GTI still really a GTI? Let's go. At Ford, we were promised just a few months ago that the future would be 100% electric and that the legendary Fiesta and Focus would be gone for good, dead, and buried. Well, they realized it wasn't working. Sales collapsed. In 2024, Ford's sales in Europe dropped by 17% and their market share shrank, falling to a miserable 3.3%. Meanwhile, Chinese brands like BYD arrived with electric cars at unbeatable prices, seeing their registrations skyrocket by 270% in 2025. Ford
10% en 2025,
found itself caught between the hammer of European bureaucrats and the anvil of Asian competition. So what do you do when you're up against the ropes? Well, you put on your fighting gloves, and at Ford, those gloves smell like mud, sweat, and gasoline. The head of Ford Europe, Jim Bumbick, took the microphone to announce what they call the Ready, Set, Ford plan. He said, and I quote, "We don't build vehicles to meet regulatory requirements. We build them for people." So their new strategy is simple. Abandon the all-electric dogma and go back to what they do best. Cars with character. By 2029, Ford will launch 5 new models in Europe. On the agenda, we'll first have a Bronco, the legendary American 4x4, but designed and built in Europe in Valencia, Spain, for Europe. It will be a compact SUV available with multiple powertrains. Next, get ready because the rumor is growing. The Fiesta could come back from the dead. Ford is preparing a small electric city car based on the platform of the new Renault 5. But be careful. Bumbick was clear. There's no question of just rebadging. "We are holding the pen," he said. "These cars will have suspension, steering, and handling that are typically Ford." In addition, there will be 2 other crossovers with multiple powertrain options, probably hybrids, to replace the Puma and the Kuga. Because, as Bumbick said so well, once again, the fastest way to zero emissions is the one that customers will actually choose. In summary, Ford has stopped apologizing for being a car manufacturer, and we're as excited as we are nervous to see this future Fiesta based on the Renault 5. Then, there are car launches that feel like product presentations, and others that feel more like cries for help. The DS number 7, whose prices have just been officially revealed today, clearly belongs to the second category. Because behind the polished press releases and carefully crafted premium jargon, there's a harsh reality. The brand is struggling. So what did DS do? The only reasonable thing, rethink everything for its bestseller, the DS7. The new number 7 is bigger. This car is now 4.66 meters long. That's 7 centimeters more than its predecessor. The wheelbase gains 5 centimeters to reach 2.79 meters, which means real space in the back and a 560-liter trunk. The platform is the STLA Medium, the same as the third-generation Peugeot 3008, which is no surprise. On the engine side, DS is going for diversity with a 145-horsepower 48-volt hybrid with a 1.2-liter engine. Then, there are 3 electric versions, 230 horsepower with 543 kilometers of range, 245 horsepower with 740 kilometers with the large battery, and finally, an all-wheel drive with 350 horsepower for 679 kilometers. Fast charging peaks at 160 kilobar, which means you can go from 20 to 80% in 27 minutes on the large 97 kWh battery. The prices have been set with surgical precision. The hybrid starts at 43,900 euros. The base electric model is priced at 46,990 euros, just below the eligibility threshold for purchase incentives. And at the top, the all-wheel drive version in the Premier trim reaches 77,520 euros before options. The DS number 7 is deliberately positioned between its technical cousin, the Peugeot 3008, at 40,500 euros, and the German heavyweights, Audi Q5 at 60,000 euros, BMW X3 at 65,000 euros and the electric Mercedes GLC at 72,000 euros. And to justify this higher positioning, DS is banking on refinement. The Étoile trim comes with the illuminated grille, adaptive headlights with a 400-meter range level 2 semi-autonomous driving, and seats with neck warmers. The Premier trim adds Nappa leather, night vision, a heated windshield, and a focal hi-fi system. The real question remains, will that be enough? The DS7 alone accounted for half of DS's global sales in 2025, so its new generation not only has to do better, but it also has to do much better. And you, what do you think about the prices of this number 7? Let me know in the comments. Then, for decades, if you wanted a BMW that went fast, you bought an M. But if you wanted a BMW that went fast while sipping an overpriced vintage wine in cathedral-like comfort, you called a little Bavarian wizard named Alpina. Well, those days are over. BMW has pulled out the checkbook. They bought Alpina and just presented their vision of the future to us on the immaculate lawns of Villa d'Este, and it's colossal. Here is the BMW Alpina vision. This is not just a car, it's a 5.2-meter-long declaration of war. A declaration of war aimed directly at Stuttgart and Mercedes-Maybach. It's long, it's wide, and it's so low you could almost trip over it. The roofline slopes down at the back like a yacht gliding through waves, but the front is where things get serious. BMW has brought back the famous shark nose, that forward-leaning shark snout that takes us straight back to the glorious 1970s, to the era of the B7 Coupe. And then there's this line. They call it the Speed Feature line. It starts at the front bumper, rises with a precise 6-degree incline, and runs all the way to the rear. It's the kind of detail that makes you think this car is fast, even when it's parked in front of the Monte Carlo casino. Under the hood, there's no battery. No, you'll find a good old gasoline V8. BMW remains discreet about the numbers, but I've heard whispers that it's a derivative of the 4.4-liter engine from the new M5. Enough to tear up the asphalt with the delicacy of a jackhammer wrapped in velvet. And to breathe, it keeps the traditional 4 exhaust pipes ready to unleash a guttural symphony. Inside, the cabin is lined with full-grain leather sourced directly from the happiest cows in the Bavarian Alps. And that's not all. Behind the center console, a motorized mechanism reveals a glass water bottle and 2 BMW Alpina crystal glasses. Each glass is engraved with 20 patterns and has a rim slanted at, guess how much? 6 degrees. It's absolute snobbery. What should we take from this? The Grand Coupe is just a concept for now, but it sets the tone. In 2027, the first true BMW Alpina of this new era will hit our roads. It will be a limousine based on the 7 Series ready to take on the Mercedes-Maybach. And finally, let's talk about a sacrilege, or maybe a miracle, I don't know yet. For 50 years, since 1976 to be exact, 3 letters have been enough to define the people's sports car, GTI. It smelled like gasoline, hot oil, and plaid fabric. But today, Volkswagen has decided to plug it in. Here is the all-new ID Polo GTI, and the burning question on everyone's lips is simple. Does this battery really deserve its 3 sacred letters? Let's start with the elephant in the room, the engine. Under the hood, there are no cylinders moving, no turbo whistling, just a 226 horsepower electric motor. That's more powerful than the last gas-powered Polo GTI with its 207 horsepower. It does 0 to 100 in 6.8 seconds, which is not as good as a base. Tesla Model 3, which does it in 6.2 seconds. To offset the cathedral-like silence, Volkswagen added a magic GTI button on the steering wheel. You press it, and suddenly the car stiffens its suspension, sharpens its steering, and blasts fake engine noise through the speakers. On paper, the engineers from Wolfsburg have done their job. That said, the car sits on huge 19-inch wheels, and it has a real differential, featuring a front limited slip differential and adaptive suspension. It weighs 1,540 kilos, which, for an electric car, is almost feather light. Visually, it looks like a real Polo, but angrier, with a honeycomb bumper, the iconic red trim on the grille, and a pretty hefty rear diffuser. Inside, real physical buttons are back. There are red stitching details, a sports steering wheel, and even a retro digital display with fake needle gauges on a gray background. So, compared to the competition, how does it stack up? The Alpine A290 with its 220 horsepower goes more for a chic vibe. The Lancia Ypsilon H claims 260 horsepower, but the Polo strikes back with a 52 kilowatt-hour battery that promises 424 kilometers of range. That's much better than its competitors. The question of price remains. Volkswagen is keeping quiet, but rumors say you'll have to pay at least 45,000 euros for an electric Polo GTI with a fake engine sound. I'll let you take in that information for a moment. So, does it deserve its GTI badge? In any case, it has the look, it has the performance, it has the equipment. But a GTI is, above all, a light, loud, and visceral car. This Polo GTI concept is clinical, probably very efficient and quiet. It's probably an excellent little electric sports car. But is it a real GTI? Give me your opinions in the comments. Thank you all for watching this new video. Don't hesitate to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to make sure you don't miss anything. Bye.